Hello and welcome to this special broadcast of News Today. On a day when Maharashtra has tragically lost its Deputy Chief Minister Ajit Pawar in an air crash. Tonight we will remember the life and times of Ajit Pawar and also ask what caused the Baramati air crash. But first, it's time for the headlines. In a tragic air crash, Maharashtra Deputy Chief Minister Ajit Pawar dies in a plane crash in Baramati. Last rites to be held in the Maharashtra town tomorrow at 11 a.m. Tributes pour in from across political parties. Exact moment of the crash is caught on camera. Ajit Pawar's plane seen losing control, spiraling down before the crash. Ajit Pawar's flight operators now under the lens. Ajit Pawar's uncle Sharad Pawar appeals to not politicize his nephew's death. Earlier, West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee floated a political conspiracy. Maharashtra Chief Minister Fadnavis also lashes out at the Bengal Chief Minister. Political war peaks as the Parliament budget session begins. Opposition adamant for debate on SIR. UGC Rao seeks a rollback of the VBG Ramji law. Centre turns down the opposition demand. The showdown over UGC norms escalates. Supreme Court agrees to urgently list a PIL challenging the new UGC anti-discrimination regulations. And days after India seals the mother of all deals with the European Union, sources claim significant progress achieved in trade negotiations with the United States. A pact is likely to be sealed soon. But first, our top story and our top focus tonight. A tragedy in Maharashtra. Maharashtra's Deputy Chief Minister, 6 times Deputy Chief Minister Ajit Pawar is no more. Ajit Pawar died in an air crash this morning at Baramati, a town which was associated with him and the Pawar family. Baramati, in a sense, has lost its guardian. The reasons for that air crash are not known yet. Several theories are doing the rounds. But let's first bring you the sequence of events that led to the plane crashing just meters away from the runway at Baramati Small Airport at 8:45 a.m. this morning. It's our top story.
A tragic morning for Baramati. A city nurtured by the Pawar family witnesses the untimely death of its benefactor, Maharashtra Deputy Chief Minister and NCP Chief Ajit Anantrao Pawar in a plane crash on Wednesday. The Learjet 45XR twin-engine aircraft crash-landed nearly 50 meters away from the runway of the local airport, killing all 5 on board.
आज बारामती में डिप्टी सीएम अजीत पवार इनके जिला परिषद चुनाव के लिए 4 सभाएं आयोजित की गई थी। रैली जिसमें अजीत पवार लोगों को संबोधित करने वाले थे। इसके लिए सुबह से बंबई से आज बारामती उप मुख्यमंत्री अजीत पवार पहुंच रहे थे, तभी यह दुर्घटना हुई है।
प्लेन ठीक से चल रहे नहीं था, ऐसा लग रहा था प्लेन क्रैश हो जाएगा। ऐसा नीचा इतना नीचा गया कि वो गांव में गिर जाएगा ऐसा लग रहा था, लेकिन वो एयर ट्रैप पे आ गया, लेकिन उस एयर ट्रैप पे उतरा नहीं, बाजू में क्रैश हो गया।
The sequence of events that led to the crash posed several questions. The aircraft first came in contact with Baramati ATC at 8:18 a.m. The aircraft's next call was when the plane was 30 nautical miles away from Baramati. They were advised to descend in at pilot's discretion. The crew inquired about the winds and visibility. They were informed that the winds were calm and visibility was around 3,000 meters. The aircraft reported on the final approach of runway 11, but the runway was not in sight to them. The plane turned around. After the go-around, the aircraft was asked about its position and the crew reported on final approach of runway 11. The crew was asked to report if the runway was in sight. The crew initially replied, and I quote, "Runway is currently not in sight. We'll call when runway is in sight," unquote. After a few seconds, the crew reported that the runway was in sight. The aircraft was cleared to land on runway 11 at 8:43 a.m. IST. However, they did not give a readback of the landing clearance. Next, the ATC saw flames around the threshold of runway 11 at 8:44 a.m. IST. There was no Mayday or any kind of distress call by the pilot to ATC before the crash, which has now added to the mystery behind the crash.
वो पायलट का डिसीजन था. He made an approach from runway 29 and then he carried out a missed approach, after which again he tried to make an attempt from runway 11. This is what I also have no contact with the pilots. They are not there.
Incidentally, Baramati is an uncontrolled airfield. Traffic information is provided by the instructors and pilots from the flying training organizations at Baramati who man the ATC. The sequence of events released by the government is based on the info given by the persons handling the ATC when the crash took place. Soon after the crash, emergency services were rushed to the site. The wreckage of the aircraft was located on the left side of runway 11. The Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau has now taken over the investigation. The mystery over why and how the plane crash landed still remains unsolved. Bureau Report, India Today.
Soon after the news of the air crash and Ajit Pawar's passing away reached the political capital of the country, tributes poured in. Politicians cutting across party lines offered their condolences to the Pawar family. Many of them have called for a detailed and thorough probe into the causes of the accident. Listen in.
अजीत दादा ने महाराष्ट्र और देश के विकास में अपना बड़ा योगदान दिया है. विशेष रूप से गांवों के जीवन को बेहतर बनाने के लिए उन्होंने हमेशा आगे बढ़कर काम किया. मैं अजीत पवार जी के परिवार के प्रति संवेदना व्यक्त करता हूं. जिन साथियों को हमने इस हादसे में खोया है, इस पीड़ा की घड़ी में हम सभी उनके परिजनों के साथ हैं.
महाराष्ट्र के उप मुख्यमंत्री और जमीन से जुड़े हुए जननेता श्रीमान अजीत दादा पवार, इनका एक विमान के एक्सीडेंट में बहुत ही दुखद निधन हुआ है. हम सभी के लिए इस प्रकार के जननेता को खोना एक अपरिमित इस प्रकार की हानि है. व्यक्तिगत मेरे लिए वो एक बहुत ही दमदार और दिलदार इस प्रकार के मित्र थे.
Message of Ajit Pawar, Deputy Chief Minister. He died today morning in a plane crash. I'm really shocked to see the news. There is no safety and security of the people of this country. Even the political leaders, I do not know what is the fate of the opposition political parties, but he was very much with the ruling party. But before few days ago, I came to know that from social network that somebody from other party, they gave a statement that Ajit Pawar is willing to leave the BJP. And now what happened today, I need proper investigation under the supervision of Supreme Court. Only we have the trust on Supreme Court, no other agency. All the agencies are being totally purchased. And really it's a great loss for the country.
जांच तो होना चाहिए क्योंकि ऐसा एक्सीडेंट हुआ है जो अननेचुरल है, ऐसा हर जगह होना। एक तरफ तो बड़े बड़े जहाज भी, अहमदाबाद के भी बहुत बड़ा एक्सीडेंट, ये तो जो प्लेन था, छोटा प्लेन, वहाँ पर ऐसा हुआ क्यों, इसकी जांच तो होना ही चाहिए।
And while the tributes flow in for Ajit Pawar as well as demands for a thorough probe, I want to raise certain big questions about air safety. What does the absence of a Mayday call indicate in this case? If visibility was 3,000 meters, why was the first landing aborted? Why was there no readback after the ATC cleared the landing? Why did the aircraft miss the runway during the second landing? And importantly, is an uncontrolled small airfield like Baramati an accident waiting to happen? My guests include Captain Sam Thomas, President Airlines Pilot Association of India, Sanjay Lazar, aviation expert of Lazar's CEO Alvalais Consultants is joining us. I want to come to you, Captain Thomas, first. This idea of an uncontrolled airfield, a small airfield like Baramati, where the captain or the pilot has to often rely on his own discretion. The ATC is located in Pune. Is it an accident waiting to happen? Is it far more dangerous when you are landing a small private aircraft in a small airport like Baramati?
Good evening. First of all, it's absolutely distressing to come on air each time for a tragic event like this. Our heartfelt condolence to the Honorable Minister's family, and our heart goes out to that young little girl who was the co-pilot of this airplane. And Captain Sumit Kapoor was a few years senior to me. He has briefly worked with us in Jet Airways as well as Air Sahara. Now, having said that, to your question of are uncontrolled airfields dangerous? Not necessarily. Uncontrolled airfields are there all over the world. And I do fly business jets into many uncontrolled airfields. However, in today's day and age, I don't understand why we do not have navigational aids that are making approaches to these kind of airports very easy. I believe today that whatever information that we have, this was a case of low visibility. When you say 3,200 meters, when you have visual flight rules, it generally requires 5 kilometers. Now, what has happened? We absolutely will not know without DFDR and ATC transcripts. The cockpit voice recorders, the ATC transcripts, and as we keep coming on the channels to tell you, sometimes it's not very nice to tell you, I told you so, particularly in tragic events. Now, this company has had another air crash a couple of years back. The report of that has not yet come out. So what we'd like to draw your attention right now is to the scene of the accident. Did you see the visuals there? It is a picnic spot. There are policemen there who don't know what they are there for. The least they can be doing is to cordon that area off. That's complete sanitization of that area is required because that's completely filled with evidence. Now, what we see there is everybody is trampling over that and people are passing judgments on what has happened. So, like I said earlier, we do not have the requisite information to tell you how this particular airplane crashed. Was this Learjet a problem? No, Learjet 45 is a very good airplane. And it by no means is an easy airplane to fly. Let me tell you that. It was one of the fastest corporate jets built in its time. So it requires a lot of skill. And the crew had the requisite skills because about 15,000 hours and knowing the pilot in command, I don't think skill was particularly a problem. But to your question of whether uncontrolled airspaces are dangerous, not necessarily, but yes, they are a challenge.
I'm also joined at this moment by Captain Amit Singh, who looks very closely at flight safety. Appreciate you also joining us, Captain. But I want to come to you, Sanjay Lazar, because the Aviation Regulator, Directorate General of Civil Aviation, says that they had conducted a regulatory audit of the aircraft owner VSR 17 plane fleet, including the crash aircraft, in February 2025. And we are told that the aircraft was fully airworthy. Therefore, would it be completely unfair, sensationalist to suggest that this was an aircraft that was not airworthy, because the DGCA makes it very clear that they had conducted a regulatory audit of all the aircraft of VSR in February 2025. That's just under a year ago.
Well, Rajdeep, thank you for having me on the show. First point before I get to VVIP, I also want to point out, which Captain Sam probably, there are two flying academies that have been at Baramati over the at least Kawar has been there for 30 years. Kawar Aviation Academy, and you had Redbird, which came in. So there are a lot of student pilots also who operate in and out of Baramati. They don't have night flying, but they also don't have visual aid. Automated aids, like he said. That's one point. As far as the DGCA statement, and I did read it, they do claim to have done an audit of this company and this particular aircraft last year. The point that Sam mentioned is very important. There's a 2023 crash of the same company, similar type of, Learjet 45XL at Mumbai. The AAIB has not yet come out with the report. It's 3 years since then. Isn't that an indicator of some, where we are stuck at in our system? The second thing is, of course, they've done a check, but an aircraft is a machine. At the end of the day, something could go wrong. If it has to go wrong at the end minute or at the last hour, you really can't tell. We know here that this pilot was a very senior qualified pilot. He'd flown on bigger aircraft and big airlines as well as this, 15,000 hours in command, and he did a go around. There was apparently low visibility, which the DGCA says, and we don't know what happened that made the plane veer off into that, whether you call it a gorge or a ravine or the side shoulder, which is of this tabletop. I think our regulator needs more regulation. That's what I'd like to say. I have long since said it, including on your channel earlier. We need a restructuring of our organization because we have become too big as an aviation nation. And we're growing exponentially every year. So we need to look at restructuring the DGCA. There was a bill, CAA bill, which I think Sanat Kaul mentioned on your show a month ago when I was there. And that seems to be the need of the hour at this point, Rajdeep.
I just for a moment want to focus though on VVIPs traveling in these aircraft. Captain Amit Singh, your founder, Safety Matters, fellow Aero Society and former head flight operations and safety, I want to understand from you, in cases like this with low visibility, should the pilot in an ideal world have just turned back, gone to Pune, rather than push for a second landing? There was talk that because Mr. Pawar had a series of meetings scheduled, Zilla Parishad elections, there was possibly pressure on the pilot to land at that moment. Does it become more difficult when you're dealing with VVIPs who are working to tight deadlines, often have to go even take the risk or take a chance in low visibility?
Well, that is always a pressure. Need not be said that somebody instructed, even without instructions, if there's a VVIP on board, it then kind of a pressure that I have to perform. And a missed approach, diversion, all these are negative connotations. And from a pilot's perspective, their job is to fly from A to B. And if they divert or go around, it is taken psychologically as a failure, kind of a failure, not exactly failure. So there has to be a kind of human factor investigation. And I have written a paper on this that has been published in the Cambridge University called Cognitive Lockup, why pilots do not go around. But this is not purely a case of low visibility. It is a systemic problem, and it could happen anywhere else, even without a VVIP. Because if you talk about uncontrolled airspace, then uncontrolled
What
airspace...
was the systemic problem? What was the systemic problem?
See, systemic problem is that, yes, aircraft was airworthy, but the systems are approved and audited by DGCA. So the checks are carried out by the engineer, but the systems are approved and audited. And every time there is an accident, there is a special audit. So what is the outcome of the audit? Nobody knows. So there are regular audits. Why don't the regular audits fulfill the needs that there is a need for a special audit? So that is just basically to show to the public. In one of the investigation reports, in a flying school accident, the investigator at the end of it wrote that soon after the accident, the flying school was closed. And there was a DGCA audit. The purpose of the DGCA audit was only to read operation, not to find out the problem. Had it done it in the right spirit, the accident would not have happened. So to show that we are doing things, we do an audit, special audit, and there is a lot of hue and cry. But
Right.
actually, one part of it, nobody knows.
Captain Sam Thomas, do you believe, therefore, that when there is this demand being made that a thorough probe, who should conduct this probe? At the end of the day, the DGCA conducts the probe. Who do you believe is best placed to conduct a probe, and is there a way to minimize the risk factor? I come back to it. There are, Indian skies today have thousands of planes, lots of small planes, flying VVIPs in particular to these smaller airfields. Who should conduct the poll so that an element of trust can be restored?
Rajdeep, at the moment, we are not very upbeat about the agencies conducting probe. I put it to you that if Captain Amit Singh, Sanjay and me were to come and audit your India today, what do we know about the audit of, or the functioning of India today? So we will not be able to come out with a qualitative report that is actually worth being called an audit. So that is exactly a paper exercise that is being conducted in most of the accidents. And like I said, let's just take the instance of a King Air that went off the runway about 110 days back. The AAIB, which is supposed to be tasked with the investigation, has not even opened the file. So when we met the AAIB, they were so upbeat about their capabilities while they were investigating the Air India 171. We put it to you that they don't even, will not even get to the preliminary stages. From the preliminary word, we also would like to draw your attention to the preliminary report which was published by AAIB. What an international joke that was. So we are not upbeat about what is going to come out of this. So what we are saying is that until such time that we come up to speed with actual air crash investigations, we need an international body, a third umpire of sorts, to come and look at this. And in the meantime, all agencies like the police be instructed that if an incident like this happens, please cordon off that area, remove the public from there, and just see to it that the place is sanitized and no evidence is lost. Only then can we come to at least a preliminary stage of investigating the accident.
I want to understand two other questions that this air crash has raised. The absence of a Mayday call. What does that indicate, Captain Amit Singh? The fact that there was apparently no Mayday call, what does that indicate, if anything at all?
No, it could indicate that the pilots were in control of the aircraft till the last minute before they realized that things were hopeless and a accident is imminent. Had they known that there was an engine failure or a technical problem, they would have analyzed and gone through the mitigation plan, troubleshooting, and then decided to transmit a Mayday. So Mayday is basically, if you look at the voice, for example, in the Ahmedabad accident, the voice transmitted by the pilot of Mayday was very calm and composed. There was no panic. So psychological, it's called dissonance. the physical part is separated from the mind. While there is panic when the pilots see that there is an opportunity to get saved, there's an opportunity for escape, that is where the panic voice comes. But otherwise, a calm mayday call is when that you have given up, it is imminent, that accident has to happen.
Right.
So a mayday call is a thought process. It does not come naturally, and pilots till the last minute were trying both the cases. They would have tried to avoid mishap. There's another thing while you were talking about small aircraft.
Can I just ask though, sorry to stop you. I just want to ask two more technical questions. One to you, Captain Thomas. Why was there no readback after the ATC cleared landing? Can you explain why that would happen?
Normally, we should have a clear readback, but from what I'm trying to figure out and whatever messages I got from Baramati, incidentally, I did a few flights in Baramati. A friend of mine owns a flight school there. I flew a small twin engine. I'm familiar with that runway. Now, I put it to you that the visibility was not 3,200 meters, because in 3,200 meters, it's more than 3 kilometers. I can see the runway. So that is again questionable. These are the factors that people in the know must be asked to contribute as far as the investigation is concerned. Now, there is, like you earlier said, there is pressure when VVIPs are there. If you recollect the CDS who passed away in a helicopter crash in Ooty, in Wellington, that aircraft was being flown by the CEO of the squadron in Sulu. So the topmost guys do come under pressure, and we'd like to tell that there are innumerable examples. Chief Minister Rajshekhar Reddy, Speaker Balayogi, these were all people who had in some way inadvertently put pressure on the pilot to complete the mission. This is where it had happened. You have pointed out a very pertinent fact. Yes, that pressure is there. Read back, why was it not there, can only be figured out once we have the ATC transcripts. Because it's almost a reflex for a pilot to say, clear to land so-and-so, so that he can go ahead and do whatever he has to do. But this doesn't seem to be a 3,200 meter visibility accident. Rajdeep.
Very quickly, Sanjay, Lazar, I just have a minute on this part of the show. A final comment. Do you believe that, the worst thing we can do is jump to any conclusions, as was the tendency, particularly with the Ahmedabad air crash in June? This is a moment to reflect and perhaps, rather than jump to any conclusions, allow the investigation in a time-bound manner to conclude.
Absolutely, Rajdeep. First of all, like Captain Sam said, condolences go out to the family of those who passed away in this tragedy. I myself had dealt with Ajit Dada numerous times 15 years ago when we broke off and joined his union. So, stickler for timing, stickler for detail, woke up at 5 a.m. Yes, I do hope that because this is such an important event as all tragedies are, that we do get a time-bound investigation. I dearly hope that somebody takes cognizance and starts restructuring and reforming our regulator. Let's have qualified aviators, engineers, technicians at the helm of that organization. God knows we need a PIL to get this correct, because it's high time. We are growing in leaps and bounds in this country, aviation. So that's all I hope for, and a quick report. Thank you.
Captain Amit Singh, just on the last point, why did the aircraft miss the runway during a second landing bid? Do you believe that's the visibility factor? A quick response.
Not just the visibility. The visibility, of course, would have been low, but the sun would be in their eyes. The sun is rising from the east. So that also affects, that scatters the light and the glare and everything. So there could be a possibility of an illusion or a black hole effect that we call, which basically when the visual profile is there, pilots tend to duck under. So go under the profile because of lack of references on the sides. So a lot of issues which have to be dealt, but frankly speaking, AIB will not be in the position to deal with because they don't have the experts on human factors to find out what the root cause. They can at best say that the pilot did this. So that is where I'm going to conclude.
Let's, as I said, we don't want to blame anyone at this stage. The worst thing you can do is jump to conclusions. These are just some of the unanswered questions, and we hope that those questions will be answered by experts in a time-bound manner. This is a air crash that has once again raised several troubling issues, particularly when VVIPs are involved. I thank my guests for joining me here on this tragic day. Thank you. Ajit Pawar, 66 years old, 6-time Deputy Chief Minister, was known to be an able administrator. He was also known to be tough in taking decisions and ruthless at times in his power play. His critics accused him of corruption. His supporters and admirers pointed out that he was a genuine regional mass leader with a ear to the ground, someone who had won election after election for close to 3 decades. Ajit Pawar leaves behind a big void, particularly in his party, the Nationalist Congress Party, where he had broken away from his uncle Sharad Pawar's shadow in 2023 and established himself once again as a leader of substance. Take a look at the life and times of Ajit Pawar, someone who never hid his ambition to become Chief Minister of Maharashtra one day, until fate tragically intervened.
Always the bridesmaid, never the bride. Ajit Pawar took oath as Deputy Chief Minister of Maharashtra 6 times, but never could climb the ladder any further. He made no bones about his ambition of becoming the Chief Minister at least once. One of the reasons for him breaking ranks with his uncle and mentor, Sharad Pawar, and splitting the NCP in July 2023 was his urge to come out of his uncle's shadow. The split itself came after a first bid at coup failed in 2019.
7 आमदार निवडून आलेले होते. 7 जणांनी निर्णय त्या बाबतीमध्ये घेतला आणि तिथं भाजपच्या बरोबर त्या ठिकाणी पक्ष त्यांच्या बरोबर तिथं गेलेले, म्हणजे सगळे आमदार पक्षाची मान्यता घेऊन तिथं गेलेले.
Ajit Pawar entered politics in 1982 when he was elected on the board of a sugar cooperative. His first electoral foray was in 1991 when he was elected to the Lok Sabha from Baramati. But he vacated the seat after Sharad Pawar became the defence minister in the Narasimha Rao government. He was elected as MLA from Baramati the same year and since then has been representing the seat, winning elections 8 times. Responsibility was shared. Sharad Pawar in Delhi and Ajit Pawar in Maharashtra, nursing the family bastion of Baramati in his uncle's absence. He woke up early, met his supporters and was accessible to people. That was how it worked till Ajit Pawar joined hands with the BJP. The gamble seemed to have backfired in 2024 Lok Sabha elections when Sharad Pawar's NCP SP won big, reducing Ajit Pawar's party to just 1 MP. But within months, Ajit Pawar made a comeback, with the NDA winning a super landslide in the assembly polls. Within the NDA, flanked by 2 Hindutva leaders, Ajit Pawar was the odd one out. He was staunchly secular, objected to communal politics and fielded Muslim candidates.
छत्रपति शिवाजी महाराज, डॉक्टर बाबासाहेब आंबेडकर, महात्मा ज्योतिबा फुले, राजर्षि शाहू महाराज ने सभी धर्मों और जातियों के साथ लेकर समाज की उन्नति का मार्ग हम सबको दिखाया है. हमें इसी विरासत को आगे बढ़ाना है.
The recent municipal elections were a wake-up call for Ajit Pawar. Despite a reunion from Pimpri-Chinchwad Municipal Corporation to save their stronghold, the Pawars lost to the BJP. Even before that, speculation was rife about an impending merger.
एनसीपी एसपी के विधायक, आपके सांसद, उनके सांसद, कि अब साथ में आ जाना चाहिए?
कार्यकर्ताओं के कुछ जहां उनका थोड़ा बहुत विरोध नहीं रहा है, उस कार्यकर्ताओं के मन में वैसी चर्चा चालू है। कुछ विधायकों ने भी मेरे कान पे डाला कि
उनके एनसीपी एसपी के और आपके भी
नहीं, उनके कि दादा साहब हमें भी साथ लेके चलो।
With the demise of Ajit Pawar, the NCP has lost a mass leader who was also a proven administrator. It may sound cliché, yet true, that the Ajit Pawar's death has left a void that the NCP cannot fill. Bureau Report, India Today.
So Maharashtra Deputy Chief Minister Ajit Pawar's death in that tragic air crash leaves a huge void in Maharashtra's politics. How will that void be filled? How should one look at the legacy of Ajit Pawar? And importantly, what happens to the NCP and the Pawar family legacy next? Joining me now are Daniel Francis, Maharashtra-based political analyst, works also closely with Eknath Shinde. Sudhir Suryavanshi is a senior journalist based in Mumbai. Clyde Crasto, national spokesperson and secretary, NCP Sharad Pawar. Appreciate all of you joining us on the show. Let me come first to you, Clyde Crasto, because the big question, how do you first assess Ajit Pawar's legacy? How will you best remember Ajit Pawar, given the fact that just a few years ago, he rebelled against Sharad Pawar and broke the NCP?
You see, Rajdeep, the Ajit Dada that I fondly know of is a man who was connected to the grassroots. He was a people's man. I mean, for me, actually loss of words, because I've worked with him for more than 20 years now. And I remember him as a man who was always on time, impeccable presence of mind. I mean, he was always there to help people. I'll just, there are so many anecdotes about him. I'll give you a simple anecdote. I remember, a few years ago, we were at August Kranti Maidan for August Kranti Divas, and it was raining. You know how it rains so heavily in Mumbai, in sometime in July, August. And we were, taking shade under the pandal somewhere. And at a distance, I saw a figure standing holding an umbrella. And then we tried to look closer. It was Ajit Dada, who came perfectly on time because he knew this was the time for that program to start. But people had scattered because it was raining so heavily. And the August Kranti Maidan can get flooded. But he was there, and he was there on time. And when we went there, he said, I'm here because you all are here. We have to be there on time. Whether it's 7 o'clock when he's holding a Janta Darbar, meeting people, helping people. The legacy of the man is someone whom I will always remember as someone who was there for everyone. You could approach him, you could meet him at any time. I mean, there is a lot of, you say that you go through a personal assistant or PA or whatever, but if you called out Dada, and he would always answer you. So, I don't know. I'm actually, when early...
I take your point, because I remember doing an interview with him in Baramati 2 years ago, less than 2 years ago, at 6 a.m. in the morning. I was bleary-eyed, but he was fresh and he had met dozens of people. He kept a very punishing schedule, was extremely hard-working. Sudhir Suryavanshi, Ajit Dada's legacy also is seen to divide people depending on how you look at him. There were those who sort of targeted him, accused him of corruption, of scams. And there were those who reminded people that he was a very able administrator, held several posts and was extremely hardworking and, as Clyde said, connected to the ground. How do you see Ajit Pawar's legacy? Does he leave a huge void in Maharashtra's politics, particularly that of the NCP, a party which now revolved in a way around the persona of Ajit Pawar, with Sharad Pawar now 85?
Ajit Pawar, Rajdeep, as you mentioned, you also tweeted about your encounter with Ajit Pawar, and you went with the blurry eyes. I also remember, I just want to, share this anecdote. I also remember when I first met him, and he has given me the time of 7 o'clock for the interview. And I used to stay in New Mumbai, that was far away from his place. So I was late for 10 minutes. And then in between 10 minutes, I got more than 50 calls from his PA, the people who works with him. Dada is waiting for you. Dada is waiting. Where are you? Where are you? And I lost that, 10, 15 minutes. Then after that, there was another schedule of meeting, and the series of meeting went still 11 o'clock. I waited for him still 11 o'clock. Then I met him. He said, Mr. Surensi, I waited for you, and you were not there on the time. So sorry. Then we fixed the next meeting. Then since that time, I decided to meet him either afternoon or in the evening, because to meeting him early morning was tough for us, and it was easy for him. That is the first thing. Second thing, his demise leaves a lot of vacuum, a lot of COVID, not only in his party family, but in Maharashtra politics also. If you see the in number wise, Maharashtra government is stable. They don't have any threat, because they have more than simple majority in a state assembly. That is almost 230 MLAs with them against the magic figure of 145 in 288 number of state assembly. That is the first thing. Second thing, I think it will leave the big vacuum in NCP, both NCP, because as I remember, both NCP was trying to merge and come together. The consensus was made within the Pawar family also. The baton has to be forwarded to the Ajit Pawar, and he is the man who can lead the party and the family. And suddenly this incident happened, and I think now the family has to go back again. They have to find out the ways. Now what will happen with the Ajit Pawar NCP, whether people will always remember or always remain with him, will be their next leader. There are many questions now.
You're making a very important point. You're actually claiming that the Pawar family was almost convinced there was a need for a merger. The merger was imminent, and Ajit Pawar would lead the NCP. Am I correct? You're saying that an NCP merger was imminent?
Yeah, absolutely. NCP merger was imminent. Everybody understood the importance. Therefore, as a litmus test or as a initial stage, they tied up in the Pune and Pimpri-Chinchwad municipal corporation election. Again, they were tying up in the Jilla Parishad election, and he was on his route for the campaigning for his candidate in the Baramati. And after that, he was returning back to the Mumbai. So merger was on the card, and there were many people within the NCP in Sharad Pawar group. They were happy. Many of them in Ajit Pawar group were happy, but some of them were not happy because they didn't wanted to see another leadership. But now the sudden demise of Ajit Pawar, untimely demise of Ajit Pawar will make big question mark. Who will be their leader? Because Sharad Pawar, he's almost 85, and very difficult for him to do all this work which Ajit Pawar used to do. So it is big question within the Pawar family, within the two factions of NCP, who will be their leader now? That is a big question.
Okay. That I'll come to that with Clyde in a moment. But Daniel Francis, it's quite remarkable. He was Deputy Chief Minister 6 times, and under different Chief Ministers, under Congress Chief Ministers like Prithviraj Sawan, under a BJP Chief Minister like Devendra Fadnavis, again under a Shiv Sena Chief Minister like Eknath Shinde. It almost seemed much like Nitish Kumar is a permanent Chief Minister in Bihar. Ajit Pawar had become the permanent Deputy Chief Minister in Maharashtra. He almost was invaluable in that sense to whoever was in power. They needed almost Ajit Pawar around.
In many ways, Rajdeep, he was deserving but never promoted. In 2004, if you go back, the NCP had, good numbers to claim the chief minister's post, but they almost gave it away for the Congress party. And that
no, they had more seats than the Congress. They had one more seat than the Congress.
Congress, and they couldn't negotiate it for Ajit Pawar. I think that was also a complaint that he had from his party bosses. But, he was an essential part of governance for the last 20 years, and mostly part of every government except Fadnavis 2014 to 2019. And was a very pragmatic leader. I think he understood what happened after 2014 and what was important for the party and for the region that they represented, that they need to move closer to the BJP. I think that thought process was not appreciated by his party supremo, and he did move closer to the BJP, creating a crisis in 2019. and thereafter we know the story. But he was a very pragmatic guy, and he had a very good relationship with party workers, party leaders. Yeah,
he moved closer to the BJP, but he did not. But he moved closer. He moved closer, Daniel, to the BJP, but he did not subscribe to the Hindutva ideology. In fact,
No,
more
he never
recently,
subscribed.
when a few
He never
BJP leaders
subscribed.
made inflammatory remarks against minorities, he spoke out against them.
No. For example, in the winter session of the Maharashtra Assembly, all the political leaders would once visit the RSS headquarters. He never participated in something like that. He maintained his identity, and he maintained, it's a very difficult thing to do it in today's NDA, but he did that and managed to do that very well. So he was very unique. He was, man of his own making. He never compromised on many things that, he was a cooperative guy. He was, in a way, a congressman, cut from the same cloth. And he maintained that identity till the last day of his life. So that was a very interesting part. And let's see one thing, that he was abused 4-5 days before he joined the NDA by the Prime Minister himself. There's political name calling, but he was almost vindicated by the BJP itself, that he was brought back in the government and made the number 2, number 3 position in the same NDA. So, he had a very interesting journey. You cannot like him, you can hate him, but Maharashtra politics could not ignore him.
That's right, because all the charges that were made by the BJP against him in the so-called irrigation scam, 70,000 crore as it was called, eventually Ajit Pawar was part of that BJP government. Many believe he was a little impatient at times, which could border on the reckless, quite unlike his uncle Sharad Pawar, who was much more cautious. But speaking of the Pawars, taking off from what Sudhir Suryavanshi said, Clyde Crasto, Clyde Crasto, taking out from what Sudhir Suryavanshi said, what happens now to the NCP? Does the NCP have to make a choice now between going with the India Alliance or going with the NDA? Will the Pawar family now be able to come together without Ajit Pawar there to sort of guide it on the ground in Maharashtra in particular? Sharad Pawar has spent a large part of his politics in the last 20 years in Delhi, Supriya Sule in Delhi. So who guides the NCP, and will we see a united NCP now?
See, Rajdeep, this is a time of grief. To talk about something like this, I think it's not the right time to even discuss something of this matter. But for what I'm trying to tell you here is that at the end of the day, it's a tragic, thing that has happened to all of us. I could, vaguely decipher what Sudhir was saying. The thing is, he did what he felt was right, for himself. Okay. And the cadre, they decided they wanted to be with Dada. Some people wanted to be with Sahib. Each one has their prerogative. And I'll tell you one thing, you cannot rule out anybody in politics. Everybody has their own standing. And the NCP, whether it was NCP of Ajit Pawar or whether it was NCP of Sharad Pawar Sahib, we continue doing our work. But to speak about it at this moment of time in, where we are all in grief, and let me tell you something, the question could be like, I am a spokesperson of the NCP, Sharad Pawar, but I'm talking about Ajit Pawar. Let me tell you something. Ajit Pawar as an individual and Ajit Pawar as a politician are two different people altogether. And the man had a big heart. I mean, I'm controlling my emotions today. I've known him, closely, but the man had a big heart. And so today at this time, I don't want to think of him as a politician. I want to think of him as a man who was connected to the grassroots. I want to think of him as a man who helped people, a man who touched many lives. Okay, he did what he had to do. I mean, it's fair enough, but this is a man who we have lost today, a man who worked for the people. 6 o'clock in the morning, if somebody said, Dada, mala madad kara, and he would never tell the PA. He would call the PA and said, हे बघा आणि हे झालं पाहिजे. This has to be done. So let's remember the man today as someone who touched a lot of hearts. Let's not think about what he did or what he shouldn't have done. A man with a golden heart, and we've lost him today.
And someone therefore who won elections for over 30 years, and you don't win election after 30 years, for 30 years, barring that one election where his wife, of course, contested against Supriya Sule, something that he was discomforted by, I can tell you from my conversations with him. But the truth of the matter is he was, as was just said, a doer, and he kept his word. And I will always recall a conversation I had with him in 2024 where he also revealed his great love for cricket, and he smiled because Ajit Pawar was known as someone who didn't like journalists too much and didn't smile too often. But somehow that day in Baramati, he smiled a lot, he seemed very relaxed. And my thoughts are with him and his family. When Maharashtra has lost its Deputy Chief Minister, long-serving Deputy Chief Minister Ajit Pawar in a tragic air crash. Now, Ajit Pawar is someone who generally stayed away from the media, especially the national media, allowing the likes of Supriya Sule and Sharad Pawar really to represent the NCP in such national media fora. But in September 2024, for the first time, Ajit Pawar agreed to our request to attend the India Today pre-Maharashtra election conclave in Mumbai. And in my conversation with him, we saw a very different side to Ajit Pawar, even smiling at times and candidly admitting that he hoped to be Chief Minister of Maharashtra one day. Listen in to Ajit Pawar.
आप मैक्सिमम नंबर ऑफ टाइम्स उप मुख्यमंत्री स्वेर इन हुए 5 बार। कभी कभी लगता है यार मुख्यमंत्री बनना है।
अरे बनना है, लेकिन हमारी गाड़ी वहां ही अटकती है तो क्या करें?
नहीं
मैं कोशिश करता हूं कि वहां आगे भी जाए, लेकिन चांस नहीं मिलता। एक दफा एनसीपी को चांस मिला था 2004 में, लेकिन हमारे नेताओं ने वो क्या डिसीजन लिया हमें अधिकार नहीं।
तो ये गाड़ी आगे कैसे जाएगी? क्योंकि ये कहा जा रहा है कि 1 साल पहले आपने शरद पवार जी को इस वजह से छोड़ा था कि आपको लगा यहां मैं मुख्यमंत्री नहीं बन सकता, कम से कम अगर मैं बीजेपी और शिवसेना के साथ जुड़ जाऊं बन जाऊंगा। अब हमारे साथ एकनाथ शिंदे थे, एकनाथ शिंदे कुर्सी पर ऐसे बैठे थे कि वो छोड़ने ही नहीं वाले हैं, तो अब क्या होगा?
ये देखो, जो भी कोई भी कुर्सी पे बैठता है उनको वो कुर्सी अच्छी लगती है। आप वहाँ बैठे, आपको भी अच्छी लगती है ना आपकी कुर्सी, वैसे ही सबका है। उसी हिसाब से कोशिश करना अपना काम है हर एक का। लेकिन
अभी भी वो एम्बिशन है कि नहीं?
नहीं, लेकिन सबको ये सीट एक ही है, महाराष्ट्र की चीफ मिनिस्टर की सीट एक ही है और 145 मैजिक फिगर है। 145 मैजिक फिगर जो इकट्ठा करेगा वो चीफ मिनिस्टर बन
सर, आपकी अभी भी एम्बिशन है कि नहीं, ख्वाहिश है कि नहीं मुख्यमंत्री बनना?
अभी मैं ये इशू के बारे में आपको जवाब देना नहीं चाहता। मेरी एम्बिशन यही है, पहले महायुति का सरकार कैसे फिर वापस महाराष्ट्र में आएगा उसके बारे में हमारी पूरी कोशिश चालू है। वो आने के बाद हम बाकी का सोचेंगे। सबका वैसा ही है, महाविकास आघाड़ी का भी वैसा है। ये देखो या मेंबर ऑफ पार्लियामेंट वर्षा गायकवाड़ जी बैठी है, उनको भी पूछो, वो भी बोलेंगे। क्योंकि क्या होता है कि सबको ऐसा लगता है कि अपना चीफ मिनिस्टर बनना चाहिए, लेकिन वो होने वाला नहीं।
And while our condolences tonight are with the Pawar family in their hour of grief, we would also like to remember the others who died in this horrific air crash. Our thoughts and prayers with the families of Captain Sumit Kapoor, First Officer Shambhavi Pathak, cabin crew Pinky Mali, and Ajit Pawar security aide Vidit Jadhav. Our condolences with each and every one of you. Thanks for watching. Stay well, stay safe. Namaskar. Farewell, Ajit Dada.